I'm live. Yeah. So, what's up, Tasha? I'm doing Facebook and doing I gotta talk to you too. See if you can watch it. Let me know how this was working. So in the back, we just got pillows and blankets and stuff. Kids sitting on the couch. But let me drop this knowledge on y'all tonight. I'm gonna give y'all some game. I'm gonna drop some knowledge. We're gonna talk about capacity, right? A lot of y'all don't understand the capacity that you're operating in determines the contractual obligation that you're under. You can jump in and out jurisdictions. A lot of people don't know that. You can, just like dual citizenship, you can be in one jurisdiction and not contract law. You can come in and out of the United States by understanding how to move, by understanding the capacity that you can work through, right? For those who are late at tonight, I'm trying to do something. Time. I'm finna start doing them at the second and dropping this knowledge, right? We're doing YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So a lot of y'all don't know that you can jump in and out of jurisdictions. You got state and federal citizenship simultaneously. Understanding how to utilize contracts. Where's the money? The money is not in the Federal Reserve notes. The money is in the contracts. A lot of y'all don't understand the money is in the contracts. What you think bonds is for? The bond is to bound you into your obligation or debt obligation. Or if you would like I told everyone about bid bonds, utilizing bid bonds, right? Understanding bid bonds and getting in bed with government. This is what the businesses have happened. Contractors have got into private contractors have got into bed with government, right? They have got into bed with government, and then what they have done with government is they couldn't finish. They needed more, and so they put a bid in that was maybe too less. They made bids to try to where now they can't complete the bid or complete the job. So they had to put in a bid bond for those types of circumstances. That's what y'all got to understand. Like business, I've been taking a lot of business. So when you talk about performance bonds and stuff like that, contracts have to be. A lot of contracts have deadlines. Y'all got to understand, like contracts have deadlines. These deadlines have to be met. People are dependent on these deadlines. So when you're talking about jurisdictions and you're talking about being able to jump into play to determine how to move forward with the jurisdictions, right? You should be understanding the capacity that you should be operating in, and proof of that will be what? Your contracts. Determining the law in the jurisdiction based upon the construction or the source of law is all embedded in the contracts. So while y'all chasing money, right, what they want to look at, okay, they look at, okay, the IRS they deal in what? Human capital. They deal in human capital. You got to understand the structures of these institutions and how they're operating to determine, okay, how to be thinking about this whole situation, right? So a lot of y'all are y'all talk about this and y'all talk about that, right? So people ask King, how do I child support, how I deal with this. You can have entities that deal with those capacities, right? So if you're going to deal with the Social Security Administration, you got to understand how to contract. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do under contract that you can move things around. You can assign this and then set up different departments. It can be, for example, you can contract with the Social Security Administration, okay, through an organization, and that organization has many charters or many chapters. Okay, understand charters and chapters, same difference. So one is religion. You got to understand how this works. So now you can have multiple entity. Don't matter. You have to understand how to move this information around. So sensitive. You're only in the status of a beneficiary under contract with the Social Security Administration under an entity that's going to be the legal right representative, authorized representative in the capacity for your benefit. And that entity takes responsibility for everything that is going on with their Social Security number is now be reassigned. You only reap the benefits from that. So you're not directly in contract with the Social Security Administration. A corporation is, right? Your corporation is, and there's a lot of things you can do with that if you have the creative ability, the ingenious to think on your feet with this information. So it's a lot of things you can do. A lot of people don't really understand that. So they say, well, okay, so you got to understand, so you can set up this corporation to do what? Handle accounts, manage accounts, okay? And then that entity can say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this and we're going to do something else with it. And now we're under contract for the benefit of the jurisdiction of the United States by understanding how to manipulate the situation by via contract, right? Via contract. So look at you. By via contract, you can change the whole criteria around. So that's what y'all got to understand about everything with contract. The contract game is deep. It's a lot of stuff you can do by understanding the contracts and the purpose of contracts and how to utilize these contracts. These contracts can be they're very vital to understanding how to move and manipulate. When we talk about manipulation, don't think of it or somebody getting used, right? Huh? What? I'm on live on YouTube. You see what I'm saying? So y'all got to understand how to think about this information. It's a critical key exercise for those who really want to be a part of this, of trying to be in private and at the same time work in the public, right? Dealing with public. So one of the contracts is that you can have, right, is a contract to offset any obligations of the United States by offering them what? Contracts, or offering them what? Okay, payment, satisfaction of debt, discharge instruments. Negotiable, set up an institution. Every institution should have a treasury department. Your treasury department should handle certain things. Yeah, I'm on both. So, like, say for example, every institution should have a treasury department. Your treasury department should deal with your accounting, okay? So if you have an institution, you got to fund your treasury department. What do you mean by fund? There's so many things you can do, and I'm not going to, that's why I say y'all need a master class. I'm going to promote the master class because there's a lot of stuff that you can put into the treasury department and that you can utilize for funding and execution of payments of debt. Some of y'all are just stuck, and none of y'all are really, you don't understand how to utilize these contracts. The money is in the contract game. The money is. Hold on, family. Come on. So I'm just speaking on some of the things that we need with the understanding. Then you got to understand how to utilize these contracts. You got to understand, I'm not going to give y'all everything. This is why I'm telling you, you need the master class. If you took the master class, you know, anybody who took the master class knows that you can jump in and out jurisdictions. Capacity. What capacity or you not? What capacity when you operate your car? What capacity are you operating in via contract? What capacity? What is the language that you need to be more astute to develop these contracts and to critically exercise this information, right? Capacity, everybody, capacity. You can jump in and out and move between jurisdictions, and then you can devastate jurisdictions by what? When you go to court, dealing in a particular stimulate jurisdiction. They want to do what? How do they stimulate jurisdiction? Talk to me, family. How do they stimulate jurisdiction? They stimulate jurisdiction by what? They have to be able to reach out to you. How? They got to give you a summons. Summons, right? Let me, baby, is my glasses in there? Y'all got to understand. So they'll reach out and give you a summons to pull you into the jurisdiction. And that's where your contract game come in, right? Because if you know what to do, your lawyers show up.
Millions of cars were stopped in their tracks. Our ears will explode due to the sudden change in air pressure as oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere. In just 5 seconds, the Earth would look completely different. You can say goodbye to anything made of concrete, as these structures rely on oxygen as a special binding agent. If you're at the beach, then expect
True.
there would be nothing particular.
So a lot of y'all and all of this stuff, we having an open discussion. I'm doing Facebook and YouTube at the same time, right? So let's talk about trusteeship. Okay, trustees should be in the private, right? So but you have trustees in corporations. A particular term that I like using, covenantors. I don't really like to use trustees. I don't just like the term. It's just I utilize for what it's worth, right? That's one of the terms that I like to look at it. So we're going to talk about capacity. Now we're going to talk about an offer and an acceptance. Now, if you understand about language and you understand that it's a lot of biblical context, when somebody goes and do an offering, right, at the altar, you know, in the biblical sense, for his Bible, right, they give an offering, they give a sacrifice, they give an offering, right, and then they accept, right? That a lot of this stuff, when you're talking about an offer, right, you're giving an offering, you're talking about bonding people and all of these religious concepts. You are bound, right? A lot of this information is done, it's a correlation between religion, right, and then it's other legal premises into this information. So I like to when I deal with a lot of different things, right? I try to get people to understand when we talk about capacity, when we talking about am I dealing in trust law? What is my status in relationship to what am I doing? Is it religious? Am I a religious organization? What do we need to understand with this information, family? Right? I'm checking you out, Keith. Runs with the man. That's right. So when you really get in deep with this information, so you have to understand what you're to what property, right? When you're talking about property, you're talking to somebody who litigated for a long time. So when we're talking about substantive, we're talking about procedural due process. What are they talking about? Because everything has to have a procedural structure, right? So the courts have to guarantee due process procedurally, but you have a substantive due process right too, right? If you look up the word due process, and I was breaking it down, if you look up due means that the Constitution forbid government for interfering with private rights or religious rights. You have immunities, right? And they cannot affect those immunities, right? As long as you are not operating. Everything in commerce that is defined as property must first come from the land procedurally. Some aspects, I can agree with that. I can agree with some things. But when we talk, when we talk about, but see, you got to understand commerce as it relates, because everything is not commercial. So that's see, we hitting on a lot of biblical context. That's why I'm trying to tell people, y'all got to understand it. I don't really want to get into that, but it can get really deep. Yeah, man. Cut that down. Cut that down.
So normally these spotters would stop.
Y'all, right in front of the TV, please cut it down. Okay. So, yeah, you got to understand, like every 7 years, that is a principle, right? That is deep. So let's talk about jumping in and out these current jurisdictions. Let's talk about due process. What is due process? One of the things you talking about substantive, you have two due process, and they meet, right? They align. So the government says, look, we have to follow these rules. These are our procedures. We at substantively the rights that you created through your religious organization to determine did we violate any of these substantive rights based upon if there was a minimal contact or it was jurisdiction devastated on the two accounts. Do that there was really no minimal contact or no minimal contact, or there was defects to the records. We didn't follow the requisites, so because we did some things, right? And then we got to look at the context of did the statute itself, did it meet constitutional muster? Did Congress or the General Assembly pass or they put this into play, right? And all the way around is voided, and you don't understand that because your lawyer is not arguing that because he's not. Wow, I'm breaking up bad. I'm still breaking up bad, Keith. I'm trying to do YouTube and all of this at the same time. What's that, bro?
Pork chop. It's official. Make it so.
Yeah, I'll get some.
You want the sandwich can or just?
No, sandwich can. So, are y'all getting? Am I still breaking up, family? How am I looking on YouTube? So, when you understand this, right? How when you really understand this information, we understand how to think about this. You got to understand how to really think about this. So, jumping in and out the jurisdictions with capacity, understanding substantive versus procedurally, to understand how the elements of jurisdiction has to be established. They can have personam jurisdiction, they can even have territorial, but the issue is, do they have legal standing? All of these things come into question, right? And dealing with political versus constitutional questions is, when you're dealing with a political question, you're dealing with things surrounding the case itself. The court is not going to deal with that. They just want to know if it's a constitutional question. Did this statute violate your rights? The government, right, create a statute that violated your rights? Did they have the right or authority? Okay. Let's give it a few minutes, fam. So I'm just having general conversation. I'm just trying to break this down. I'm trying to get some stuff. So I'm gonna switch. I think after this week, I'm gonna switch to a better internet service. What you think, baby? We gonna get us. Man, I ain't gonna lie, we got a lot of devices, and we switched to a cheaper internet service, and it is a little cheaper because this internet service is terrible.
Bless you.
So I should have just kept mine. I should have brought mine over here.
Okay, what side you want me to?
So let's look at this, right? So when we talking about due process of law and all of this stuff, y'all got to understand. And the devil is in the details. Y'all need this master class, man, to help. Like, I don't care how much you read. I don't care how much all of that. Until you get in that courtroom, it's a whole nother animal, right? Because you got to deal with the judges, and they be process on you. They'll force you to do appeals. They'll force you into that capacity. And if you understand how this stuff works, they give judges leniency, right, to make assignments of error, right? So ignorance of the law don't apply to judges. This is the concept, because if ignorance of the law didn't apply, why the hell is you appealing? What is you appealing? Right? Why do you have to appeal something to a high standard? Understand this philosophy of these mad men, right? Putting you into bondage, right? Putting you into a bonding you, right? But they tell you now you have to appeal a judge's or magistrate decision or objections and appealing to a higher court on some issues that they already should know, right? They have education courses. Stuff is rigged, and y'all got to understand how to play. Of course. So when you talking about getting into the front, no excuse. But at the same token, a judge, right, and misappropriate the law and hold you to a standard. These are things that you get from King L. Bay, right? Because I litigated for 10 years. 10, fam. 10. Exercising critical thinking. Some people are more astute in memorizing law books and different stuff. I've been through the practical application. I can argue things off the top of my head by understanding how to deal with these issues, understanding all the different jurisdictions. You understand what I'm saying? So capacity, a lot of y'all talking about, I'm not operating as a minor, or I'm operating in the majority. None of that don't even matter, man. None of that. That's the only thing y'all need to be concerned with. All this major and minor stuff, that's bull crap. Sometimes I went along with it to put the stuff into it, but when you really litigate, the court is the only thing they want to find out. Well, you operating in the capacity associated with a jurisdiction. You pull out the contract back, ooh, motion in the court to seal the records, right? And then you could go in there and handle your business. And then you could go and deal with the court accordingly because you understand the contract game, right? You see what I'm saying? Oh yeah, they always do. Stop. Y'all all in my video. Stop. Y'all making too much noise, right? As the correlation between all of this is deeper, right? Like we're going to be doing all types of things with our Treasury Department, right? Malicious process. So I ain't got no choice. I got kids. Get out my video, please.
I didn't know that was wrong.
Okay, I got YouTube and everything going at the same time. Bye. Bye. Come on. Right. I'm on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. I'm gonna be setting up a studio soon. I'm gonna be, got you, brother. I'm gonna check it out. I got you. I'm gonna check her out. So let's get into the particulars, right? That's why if you ever file in court, right, you understand a bill of particulars. You try to get a discovery, but you want the particulars in which, right, do the bill of particulars, right? You show them where now this is not how things work, right? Here's my contracts, right? So like when you're going about it in a different manner, right? I keep trying to tell you the certification of debt is due. Contract labor is worth its weight in gold. Most of y'all don't have the proper verbiage in your contracts. So we're going to be doing all types of stuff with this and assigning different departments when you get with MUST. MUST is going to be a community action agency, right? And set up through several compartments, right? We compartmentalizing and understanding the verbiage and how to set up this entity through estate planning to allow us to move in a certain capacity, right? You have to understand this in totality to get the true essence of this effect. Some of y'all just worried about discharging that, but you don't really want to be a part of something greater than yourself with coverage, okay, of due process. This stuff has got to be bigger than you. This mission is bigger than MUST. MUST mind nothing. And I meant to let me correct myself. A part of this community, because as a body we make a whole. No person is bigger than any other person. We all work for the benefit of the whole. And if you understand, it's about working towards the benefit of the whole. I'm down. Oh, I thought you was giving that to me. Thank you, baby. Yeah, look, girl. Okay. So I'm just showing y'all how we working with over here in Must, right? You ain't talking to a person who's illiterate. I'm a cop, you know what I'm saying? And I learned like the most. I'm gonna tell y'all something that was so tripped out, right? When I was studying this law, and I'm just going, the Most High came to me in my dream. He told me to stop reading. I didn't understand. He says, I used to go to the law library. My wife could tell you. I used to be either at home studying off the computer or I'll be down at the courthouse. Right? And this, I have been reading case law for a long time. I have beat cases off of facts. I ain't even argue no man. That's what y'all have to understand sometimes. And whether you heard that term, the facts speak for themselves. Law don't come in until after a jury decide the facts.
Right here.
What is that?
I don't know. I'm just telling you to put it on.
What is this, baby?
Oh, my bad. It was a sweater and a shirt. I'm gonna give it to a redhead network.
Grand Rising. So haven't y'all heard the facts? Would you stop? Would you stop coming in my video? Now you're messing up. Now you're doing too much. She good. Stop doing that. Y'all doing too much. They doing too much. They doing it on purpose.
They laughing. They laugh.
When the baby can laugh.
No, I'm talking about my man.
My kids, my video.
You doing that on purpose.
Stop. My kids.
Bro, you're not funny.
So I ain't gonna pay no attention. They just want some attention. So in relationship to everything that we doing, right? You can determine that's how you're operating based upon the capacity and the jurisdiction is determined by what your contract is. Now we're gonna talk about standing. Now we can talk about what is standing. For a person to have standing information, what is that? The contract. Don't you understand when they say this is above your pay grade, right? You're not privileged to the information. Why you think they talk about trade secrecy? Only privileged people can be informed. In the United States, you got to understand what's going on with the contract. Gang, family. You got to understand what's going on with this information, right?
Why you keep showing me your booty ass camera? That's not even funny.
All right. Milton Huber said, much love to the family and the babies, right? I'm breaking this up to just show y'all, right, how this stuff works with this information, right? Like if you read the social super, yeah, they the co-stars. So the thing that I'm laughing at is the stuff. What are y'all doing? The thing that we're trying to do, right, with this information is understand how to critically think. You have to be a free thinker. And that's what the Most High was telling me, because I was getting too indoctrinated. I was just becoming an educated fool. I was throughout a process. And this, like I posted before, I said the war is a necessary evil. Why? when you cannot reason, because you got to reason with them for things to make sense, then war is the only necessary thing. Sometimes you cannot, law is not going to free you. And I'm going to tell you why. They select jurors, right, to convict you, not to prove that you. Supreme Court already said, we're not. Only thing they're here to do is provide you with due process of law. There's plenty of Supreme Court cases that support that fact. That's all they have to do, peers. So what do? When they try to get peers, and they try to get what? They try to get a lot of white jurors from certain areas, right? And they have a certain stigma about people. Television, all these different things that promote how people think. Am I still breaking up? Because it seems like I'm losing some people watching, right? I'm going to be on here about another 50 to understand this information. So you got to understand, sometimes law, it was the white girl who killed her daughter, the Casey Anthony, right? Empathy and sympathy, right?
Oh, y'all making me mad.
I'm gonna have to go to transfer to, I'm gonna have to go back to Spectrum. Spectrum have the best. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
I don't know.
I didn't use this Spectrum I didn't been with Spectrum for like about 8, about 10 years I've been paying for cable. And a lot of time I wasn't even utilizing it because I ain't even, only thing I utilized was the internet. And right?
But I'm fat.
They try to change the county where they try. So what had happened was, right, with the Tracy Anthony story, right? Ain't that her name, Tracy Anthony? They use empathy. They use her white image, her innocent look to get her off. A look of innocence. She looked young. She looked like she didn't have the heart to do that. But
You talking about the one who baby was found in her backyard buried?
I'm talking about the one, her mama and daddy. Did they ever find her daughter?
You got a little boy?
I'm talking about that little girl. She had a little girl. The one that wrote the book who beat the case.
Oh, Case Anthony. I thought you were talking about the one who was out of the way for her.
No, she beat the case. The white girl who beat the case. Movie, man. Y'all got to understand. Y'all got to understand this information, man. Y'all got to understand the information, family.
Ooh, y'all talking about the food. Ooh, you should have bought this.
OJ just had enough money. And I'm going to tell you something about the OJ case that a lot of people don't understand, right? Black people was going to burn billions. They ain't wanted to happen again. They ain't wanted to happen again. It was about affecting business. Because when you affect businesses, you affect taxes, and taxes affects monies. You got to understand this system, this clock, how this clock moves. I told you everything is a derivative. It's a ripple effect. You have to understand this. Yeah, they tried to do it in the OJ. I mean, the Rodney King. It's like they tried to, like, this with the police and the Rodney King. That's a good one, right? They had evidence, but what did they do? They tried to criminalize Rodney King so that they can justify their actions. You dealing with a society, you got to understand there's a lot of biblical implication. Those who are heathens are uncivilized. So a lot of people don't understand. Like when you talk about nations, right? How do nations work? Nations set up trusts. Then nations set up corporations. Y'all, you got to, the United States is a corporation. You got to understand the difference between the two, right? You had to, I used to read a lot, right? And then the learn is by through observation. Don't just look and read. Pay attention. So the science of things is based upon studying things in their natural state. And then they are manipulated, put other variables in it to determine how it interacts in there, to determine the stability of that state, of that makes the environment change. What information is the new gold? The more you know, the more you can do, right? And if I can, we can determine what we can and can't do, right? So y'all gotta get this information exactly. So y'all gotta get this in y'all head, man. Y'all gotta share these videos and understand this stuff. Like when I talk about all of this different stuff, when I talk about this stuff in the master class, right? Why you need the master class, understanding capacity. That's what y'all got to understand. See, if y'all can see this, right? Y'all probably can't see on this. So, capacity. Let me show y'all something about capacity. Capacity, right? Ability to contain. I want y'all to understand. Ability to contain. That's so what are they talking about? Ability to contain. They talking about contract. Size, extent, also as we reference to this ability in a legal. So when we talk about capacities, we're talking about your ability in accordance in relationship to your status, which is associated to your property rights, right? As you discern, so when they pull you into court, you got to understand, was there a minimum contact? So one of the things about corporations that I like, right? They have this thing, this law called freedom of attachments that a lot of y'all don't understand about corporate law. When you dealing with, when you can move from one state to another state. Why y'all cut the lights off? I can't see. Cut the damn lights on. Cut the. It says always have your computer screen. Okay. Definition of capacity, right? I need to. What do that word? What do I am? Baby, what do I M A O mean? I don't know what that is. Oh, that stand for laugh at my ass. Oh, okay.
No, L and A-O.
Okay, it's LMAO. Laugh at my ass. Okay, bye. So you see, I'm having all of this YouTube interruptions, and my children are just funny, right? So The thing that I want y'all to understand when you get with King L Bay with the master class, you getting a more deeper revelation with this information. This ain't all about secure party credit. Because if you understand how to set up a trust, you understand that the trust has an automatic treasury, right? You funding the trust, you automatically understand how to be a creditor to your corporation or another trust. Tell turn off the lights. You funny, man. You funny, bro. You funny, man. You funny. That was a good one. That was really a good one. I like that. That was a good one. That was a good one. So, in relationship to what I'm saying to everybody is, there's a lot of to everything. Everybody haven't made the correlation between the things because you're focusing on discharging debt. There's pros and cons to everything that you're doing. You have to understand the capacity in which you need to be. Damn things you're supposed to do. What's up, God? We back. New Kimmy TV. That's my brother Chief Bendelay. Well, you know, back in the day, me and him we've been rocking doing this. I'm trying to get him into the group, back into what we used to do. That's my brother. And then y'all need to support his books. Put your books up, Bendelay. Put your books up, bro. You know, that's my brother. So him and my brother Karas, these are my brothers. But let's talk about this, right? Because I ain't gonna lie, the Musk family, we tight. These are people that I'm gonna ride and die with, right? So we got to understand how this stuff works, man. I'm telling y'all, man, it's levels to this. It's just levels to this. So a lot of y'all don't understand that you can jump in and out of other United States jurisdiction. And if you took the master class, like, you can assign yourself a time to be in United States jurisdiction. From these hours to this hour, I'm in United States jurisdiction. From this to this, I'm damn. King L Bay, is it that damn simple? Understanding all this stuff really going through your head? Do you understand capacity? And then you got to look at the property that you're using. So Social Security number is their property. So you know you in their jurisdiction, right? So guess what you want to do? We have a super aboriginal number, right? Under contract, right? As we associate and assign people the number, right? You got to understand what we doing over on our side at Musk, right? That's why some of y'all need to go see Brother Ali Bay, A-L-I space capital B-E-Y. And he the brother with the hat on or whatever, the rap. We have the super aboriginal number. And you got to understand how that's so mesh two jurisdictions at the same time. You either in one or the other. Can't serve two masters. So what you got to understand how you can jump in and out jurisdictions in Treasury Department. A lot of y'all ain't doing that. A lot of y'all don't know you can create a trust that create other trusts, right? You can create a trust company that create other trusts. And those trusts can be assigned certain things or abilities. That's why I said due process of law. When we're talking about the ability, when we talk about quasi, you talk about quasi-government. These are private institutions that government has assigned government powers to, right? When you take dealing with King L, like, I'm the one who broke down all of this stuff about customary law. Nobody on YouTube or in the Facebook world talked about or even touched these things that I'm speaking on for certain specific particular things that I broke down in the capacity in which I was breaking it down. So what I'm trying to get y'all to understand is, where's the money? The money is in the contract game. The contract determines the value of everything, right? The contract does. So LeBron James, right? These institutions are being validated based upon, right? They understand that these people got a lot of money. So it speaks for itself. That's why I tell you the facts speak for themselves. You don't have to argue the jurisdiction based upon the capacity that you were under. Law don't come in until they can verify, right, of how you were operating. And if you're not operating in a particular capacity, then they're not privileged, right? Because this information can be trade secret information, right? Information is privileged. And when you understand trade secrets, vow of secrecy, and all of this as compared to business and religion, then you understand that only some people have privileged information, have the privy to be dealing with you because they don't have the information to deal with you. And what do you mean by that? Not the contract, because contracts can be oral or expressed. It don't have to always be on paper. It can be validated by what? A signature, a thumbprint. So, because I gotta get some stuff, got all these cell phones, game systems, all this stuff working off. And I'm gonna try to get something a little better. I'm gonna try to get back onto Spectrum. This internet, we pay too much money for this internet. It's about the same price, but it's not the same. So I'm gonna stop. Y'all can come back onto Facebook. And y'all need to share these videos. I'm gonna share this on Facebook. But check this out.